Hello, my name is Elmer Bonilla.
Hello, my name is Saide Zelaya.
And my name is Melissa Serrano.
We are a team of the group of English 3 and we are going to present the topic extended definitions. We have to start with something basic and fundamental, like the definition of the concept. The question is, what is extended definition? As we can see, an extended definition is a type of definition that goes beyond what we can find in a dictionary, offering an expanded analysis and illustration of a concept that may be abstract, controversial, unfamiliar, or frequently misunderstood.
Approaching the abstract. Abstract concepts, like many of the broad terms in the list below, need to be brought to earth, with an example to relate what they mean to your reader, and get your point or opinion across. Illustrate the concepts with an anecdote from your personal life, an example from the news or current events, or write an opinion piece.
Brainstorming and pre-writing. We can have as an example as the brainstorming and pre-writing technique that as we were studying in the unit number 1 of this course. And now, according to the topic extended definition, brainstorming and pre-writing start with brainstorming your topic. If you work, for example, well with list, write the word at the top of the paper and fill it with all the things that the word makes you think of, feel, see, or even smell without stopping. And remember that at this point you don't need to have into account the grammar and spelling at this moment. It is okay to go off of the tangent, as you may find surprising connection that could make a powerful, insightful, or even a humorous essay. Alternatively, brainstorming by writing the word in the middle of your paper and connect other related words at it and them.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about extended definition essay. Writing an extended definition essay does not differ too much from writing a definition essay. In both cases, you have to analyze a given term in various contexts and to distinguishing between different meanings of it. An extended definition essay allows you to write in a more general way, including opposition to the mundane definitions of the term and casting doubt on them. Choose the right term. You will be given a short list of terms that you associate with various experiences and situations. If you do not have self-confidence, we recommend you to select an extended definition topic which seems the most appropriate for you. But if you believe that you are able to write an excellent definition essay, then it is better to pick up the most difficult task. Parts of an extended definition essay. First, make a short extended definition outline. Then, write the introduction. In the introduction part, you write about the context of the problem. Then you write the body. It should contain 3 paragraphs. And in conclusion, now you can restate the thesis and summarize the argument in favor. Strategies. First, refer to particular situations. It will be good to stay within the limits of an abstract thought. And second, opposition. It is not posited that an extended definition essay should deal only with different meanings of one term. Extended definition essay topics allow the writer to completely define and explain the meaning of a subject. For example, what is a sense of humor? What is sportsmanship?
Also, some observations that we can make of extended definitions are, first of all, an extended definition may explain the word's etymology or historical roots, describe sensory characteristics of something, and the number 2 are purposes of extended definitions. An extended definition informs by clarifying something that is complex. A definition can also inform by bringing the writer to a fresh appreciation of something familiar or taken for granted. we have some important things to remember in the extended definitions. What you have to use to form extended definitions. First of all, you have to add the name of item or concept. You have to ask you, what are you defining? We're going to make an example and we use the concept of cooperation. Then you have the classification. In this case, you ask you to what broad group does this belong, and you can add that the process of groups of organisms. And to finish the sentence, you can add the distinguishing characteristics. In this one, you ask you what makes your object different from the members of its class. And to continue with our example, we add that working or acting together for a common benefit. As a result, in the example, we can have that cooperation is the process of groups of organisms working or acting together for a common benefit.
Now I'm going to talk about some do's and don'ts in extended definition. First of all, you have to classify your items precisely. Do not use phrases like is what, or takes place when, or is a term. For example, if you are defining photosynthesis, don't use the class a process. Use the class a process a plant uses.
Continue with the do's and don'ts. You can use accurate and specific distinguishing characteristics. First of all, is like how is your object concept different from others in its class. For example, in the sentence, a dog is an animal that regularly lives with humans is not specifically helpful since other animals also live with humans.
Continue with the do and don'ts about extended definition. Remember that you have to decide on the level of detail of some that can be short, others can be long. You have to state the question, how do you know which? And we have non-technical audience may need information, stated understandable language, but don't insultate them with too much information.
We have that you have to avoid circular definition. For example, skin cancer is a disease that damages the skin. The word skin is twice in this sentence, which is not necessary to repeat that word. In the second example, industrial machining is a process by which machinists design and creates parts for industrial application. The word machining and machinist is repeating also in this sentence, and it's not necessary also.
Also, you can add what does the term mean. For example, social media is not about social status. Common interest is in print or television news or conventional society norms. And you can add operating principle, and you can ask yourself, how does it work? For example, elections are scheduled on regular cycle and usually involve leaders from both major and many smaller political parties.
And more about the do's and don'ts. We have analysis of the part, element of the item concept. Example, we have this sentence. Photosynthesis involves both light and dark reaction. The light requires striking chlorophyll. The dark creates carbohydrate through carbon fixation. And then we have comparison, contrast, And the question is, what is the item, concept, like or not like? And we have the example. Traditional public media do not enable communication between users, but social media aggressively promote direct interaction.
Also, we can add that you have to expand your definition selectively. For example, you can add etymology, which means where did the word itself come from. For example, in the case of photosynthesis, the word photo comes from a combining word form meaning light, and synthesis comes from putting together, so it's photosynthesis.
So you can ask you, does it the item concept need a special material or conditions? Or it is the subject to certain restrictions? For example, we can say that for a patient to use hospice care, his or her doctor must determine the patient eligibility using MNA guidelines. And also, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are popular social media sites.
And finally, remember, for the do and don't, for extended definition, you have to use visual to clarify your meaning. For example, when you're talking about body parts, remember that this is something that you can add, but this is not mandatory.
Now let's make our own example. Our topic is cooperation. It is known that cooperation is a very important term in international relations. You can define that cooperation is voluntary arrangement in which two or more entities engage in a mutually beneficial exchange instead of competing. Cooperation can happen where resources adequate for both parties exist or are created by their interaction. How does the term cooperation arise in the international arena? Due to the fact that the term could be said in different steps. First, there are many forms of international cooperation, where two or more entities work for mutual benefits. For example, at wars there are alliances like the NATO, which becomes a form of cooperation, and it is based on a strategy and foreign policies of every entity states. Also, in economic globalization, there are international cooperation when trading by bilateral and regional agreements, and the world organizations play an important role to set the rules of trading. Finally, there is the international cooperation for development that started after the Second World War, and that aim is to take out people from poverty. Second, it is generally considered that international cooperation as we know it is today arises with the end of the Second World War and the signing of the Charter of the United Nations in 1945. The incorporation of the concept in the day-to-day of international relations was reflected in the Charter in the United Nations, that in its Article 1, Inc. 3 says carry out international cooperation in the solution of international problems and economic, social, nature, cultural, or humanitarian, and in the development of encouragement of respect of the human rights and the fundamental freedoms of all without making distinctions based on race, sex, language, or religion. When the Second World War ends, Europe needs some economic help to rebuild it. It's when the United States present the Marshall Plan. In 1949, with the imaginary speech by US President Harry Truman, is when cooperation is known for development aid. The idea at that time was to free humanity from poverty. The cooperation continues growing until the 60s when start developing some projects with NGOs. And it's in this decade when the CAD of the OECD born, the United Nations decree than 60s the first decade of development. So the term cooperation arises as it is seeming not always as it could be thought nowadays, where cooperation is used for helping development countries to solve problems related to poverty and humanitarian crises, but as means where different entities could get benefits according to their interest or national policies, where also their interest is reflected. Here, the approach that every state or entity select is important according to the theory, whether be realist, liberal, or social theory.
Now you're ready!
To write your own
Extended definitions!
Extended definition! Goodbye!